Hello, English 1B students. Okay, so we're here again. I'm going to do another great short poems bit for you. Try to be quick with this one. I am planning another one or two for Maltese Falcon. But I'm going to get this out of the way and get it out to you to help you out a bit. What I want to do is I want to talk about um, I want to talk about a number of poems. Okay, so part of the power of poetry sometimes is describing something that the reader actually doesn't have much experience with. Okay, something brand new. The other value is for a poet to put into words things we feel, things we know, but in such a way that it becomes fresh, that it becomes insightful, that it becomes some sort of spark so that we ourselves maybe remember how that works for us. And I want to start with a little bit of sadness, a little bit of grief. Christina Rossetti, a poet I like a lot from the late 19th century, the 1800s, has a poem called Remember. And what she is doing is she's imagining, okay, when I'm gone, when I'm dead, this is how I'd like you to think about me. This is how I want you to remember me. Okay, now a poem like this for me is going to give us a situation. It's going to give us a speaker and some characters. It's going to reflect on the idea of whatever relationship is between these people that I have to figure out. Okay, but it's also there's the poem story, and then there's the idea of what does that represent to me. How can I, in a crass way, how can I use that? But also, how would I want my beloved to remember me when I'm gone? How would I want to remember if I am the one who survives longer? So serious stuff. I mean, poetry can be. I don't mean serious and stuff like beat me over the head with it, but I also do think times like this pandemic can make me at least appreciate having to, coming to grips a little bit with getting some help, perhaps, with hard subjects. Okay. And grief is one of the most human subjects I know. We are mortal, given such as time. Time that thief. Okay. It's on page 28 of your great short poems. Remember. Technically, it's a sonnet. It's 14 lines with a rhyming structure, etc. I read it according to the sentences, the musicalities there, but I'm going to read the whole thing first. Remember. Remember me when I'm gone away, gone far away into the silent land, when you can no more hold me by the hand, nor I half turn to go, yet turning stay. Remember me when no more day by day you tell me of our future that you planned. Only remember me. You understand it will be late to counsel then or pray. Yet if you should forget me for a while, and afterwards remember, do not grieve. For if the darkness and corruption leave a vestige of the thoughts that once I had, better by far you should forget and smile than that you should remember and be sad. All right. So this is someone who is grappling, and maybe they had to grapple in poetry because he couldn't really talk about it to the other partner, maybe, and left it behind. I don't know. But that idea of like, don't feel guilty. Don't feel sad if you forget me once in a while or for a while. It's better instead of always being burdened and held down with the grief that, you know, even if it means forgetting, but then when you remember me, the poet says, you will smile. Think about this. In a way, Christina Rossetti's poet figure here, the speaker, is trying to offer compassion from beyond the grave. I find that powerful. All right, here's another one. And again, I'm trying not to say too much, but at least show you how I can figure out the story in the poem. Okay. On 36, 37, there's a poem called When I Was 1 and 20. Okay, this is a poem with a speaker, an exuberant young man. And he's going to go through a growth pattern really quickly because he's going to, I thought this way, but now I think that way. And this isn't the transition from like when I was 21. That's what 1 and 20 means, 21. His realization happens when he's 22. And you might think of these are the years in which you change and you learn a lot. I think, he's learned something about love. And so he's offering it. So when I read this, I see a couple things. When I was, say, 21, 22, I had a lot of sympathy, compassion for the speaker. And I thought, yeah, it's how it works. You know this, and then you know this different thing. Okay. Looking back, I still hold that true. I mean, no disrespect to younger folks. But I also have to say that there's a certain sense of, I know what life is like. That my younger self, yeah. Okay. When I Was 1 and 20 by A.E. Houseman. When I was 1 and 20, I heard a wise man say, give crowns and pounds and guineas, but not your heart away. Give pearls away and rubies, but keep your fancy free. But I was 1 and 20, no use to talk to me. When I was 1 and 20, I heard him say again, the heart out of the bosom was never given in vain. 'Tis paid with sighs aplenty, and sold for endless rue. And I am 2 and 20, and oh, 'tis true, 'tis true. Okay, you got the speaker, you've got the wise man offering advice, and you have an implied love relationship that goes bad. Okay, so the 21-year-old hears this old man say, give away money, give away jewels, don't give away your heart, you better save yourself. And the 21-year-old says, gotta give the heart. Okay, second stanza. If you give that heart, the wise man says, you're going to pay for it. You're going to sigh, be sad. You're going to rue, have regrets. And so now at 2 and 20, at 22, he's like, yep, old man had it right. So in between, he gave away his heart. He got it stomped on perhaps. And now he's got sadness. But it's got a jaunty little rhythm to it. And, it doesn't seem, a little bit of heartbreak. Okay. More things. So very musical there. I'm going to go to one that's a little bit harder. Got to check something. All right. It's by Wallace Stevens. Okay, so turn of the century, early 20th century poet, American poet, famous. I find his poetry, it either really works for me or I find it really hard. Okay, one reason I like using this book is like, say, this one I like, this one I like, this one's easy, that one's hard, I still like it, this one's tricky. Okay, here's one that's a little tricky, but if you spend a little time thinking about it, practice, remember practice, it gets easier. And I like this one. Okay. Disillusionment of 10 o'clock. Now, one of the things we're going to figure out is, well, 10 o'clock, is that in the morning or in the evening? But as you're going to see, it must be the evening. Okay, he doesn't have to say PM. It's in the poem. Okay, so this one's a little tricky. It's more modern, and so it's going to be a little less obvious. All right. Disillusionment. And if you don't know the word, that'll be one to look up. Okay. But usually if you're disillusioned, you're kind of like the guy in the last poem. Between 1 and 20 and 2 and 20, he's disillusioned about how giving away his heart is a good thing. Okay. So disillusionment was you had a belief. It was probably not necessarily the best belief. That's why it's sort of an illusion, and you get taken away from there. So you have a better understanding. Okay. Disillusionment of 10 o'clock. The houses are haunted by white nightgowns. None are green or purple with green rings, or green with yellow rings, or yellow with blue rings. None of them are strange, with socks of lace and beaded censures. People are not going to dream of baboons and periwinkles. Only, here and there, an old sailor, drunk and asleep in his boots, catches tigers in red weather. Okay, I put a little bit of tone in there. And so I'm going to give this to you. Okay. The houses are haunted by white nightgowns. Nobody's wearing colorful, fancy pajamas. They don't have any lace. Don't have any great colors. Okay. I don't know how many of you spent time in small towns that close, like by 10 p.m., there's nobody awake. I mean, even a great place like Venice, Italy, oh man, by about 9:30, 10 o'clock max, that place is shut down. Okay, but I'm thinking of like, say, small towns. They're all shut up. There's nothing happening. So to me, this is a poem about one of those towns where everybody dresses in white nightgowns and everyone goes to bed early and nobody has any crazy dreams because that's just not possible here. Okay, so this is kind of a poem that's okay. So partly I'm going to give you this idea, and you can go back to the poem and look for it. Okay, haunted. You're waiting for ghosts, like an illusion maybe, but ghosts. But no, this is just everybody wears a white nightgown, and it's sort of silly, like um, none are green or purple with rings. Okay. So it's a town where everyone goes to bed early. Everyone dresses in boring white nightgowns. Except, here and there, an old sailor. Meaning there's probably more than one old sailor, but they're separate, etc. Drunk and asleep in his boots, catches tigers in red weather. Okay, none of these people are dreaming anything fun, adventurous, baboons and periwinkles, flowers. Okay, or shellfish, depending. But every once in a while, it's one of those houses. There's an old sailor. He didn't put on a nightgown. He's drinking too much. Probably nobody else drinks in this town, right? They're too busy being just like everybody else, being boring. He's drunk, sleeping in his boots, and he catches tigers in red weather. Okay, he's dreaming of wild things, kind of like the baboon. I don't know if you know the old rhyme. Red sky at night, sailor's delight. Red sky in morning, sailor take warning. Okay, that idea that depending on how the sky looks, you could figure out there's a storm coming or if it's going to be calm, fair sailing, etc. That sleeping sailor catches tigers in red weather. Okay, I think he's having exotic dreams. I want his dreams, frankly. Okay. If we were in class, I'd also say, why is he a sailor? Because think of it, with this one word, Wallace Stevens is getting a lot done. Just like haunted by white nightgowns. That haunted, dressed in white nightgowns. But the houses are haunted by white nightgowns. I mean, the people are reduced to ghosts. But they're not ghosts. They're just people who don't live vivid lives. Okay, why a sailor? A sailor is someone who's been out of town. A sailor's been out and back again. Okay, especially old school sailors where you'd spend time in exotic ports and see things. Nowadays, sailors tend to be, stuck on the ships and they never stop. They just fix them on the way. Okay. But part of my point here about practicing and about poetry, and one reason I like this poem, Disillusionment of 10 o'clock, and it's 10 o'clock at night, right? Because everyone's going to sleep or dreaming or not dreaming. Okay, so we know it's nighttime. But again, that use of sailor to do so much. The man who's been gone and back, and therefore he can be different than everybody else who's wearing a white nightgown. Okay. How about one more really quickly? Let me find a little short one. Lots of boat poems in here, by the way. So, Emily Dickinson, American poet from the 19th century. She's on pages 27 and 28, and I know people who love her poetry. And this one is just above the Christina Rossetti poem, Remember. It's called I Never Saw a Moor. Now, a moor is flat, shrubby, sort of barren land. It's a word that's usually used in England, Europe, that sort of thing. And like if you've read any classic novels like, say, Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights by the two Bronte sisters, you know, they go out upon the moor. If you've read any Sherlock Holmes, The Hound of the Baskervilles, a book I really like and I sometimes teach in 1B, there's the moor. So it's this sort of wasteland of shrubs and trees and maybe rivers and swamps, etc. Exotic, wild place right next door to small towns is how it's usually thought about. This is a poem about imagination. I never saw a moor, I never saw the sea. Yet know I how the heather looks, and what a wave must be. I never spoke with God, nor visited in heaven, yet certain am I of the spot, as if the chart were given. Okay, so heather's what's on the moor, you know. She never saw the moor, never saw the sea, but you know what? She knows what heather looks like, and she knows what a wave must be. She's done her reading, she's done her studies. This is pre-video, okay? And pre-photography, actually, pretty much. All right. Okay, she's got the imagination. She could, you know, she's never been there, but, you know, she can travel there and have a sense of it. So it goes from sort of the power of the imagination in stanza 1 to the power of faith. And again, I'm not trying to proselytize, but I never spoke with God, nor visited in heaven, yet certain am I of the spot, as if the chart were given. Chart makes it really specific, like, okay, we could map it, you know, get our GPS out and head there. Short little poem. You know, I like, you know, short poems, long poems, complex ones, fairly simple ones. This is saying, you know what? I can use my imagination and know things. I can read, I can listen, that sort of thing. All right. I think we're done for right now. Thank you very much. Hope you're all doing well.